The CRTC wants to know how radio, TV, and digital platforms in Canada can best meet the needs of Indigenous viewers, listeners, and content creators. Join the conversation today at crtc.gc.ca/indigenous-broadcasting.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Le CRTC veut savoir comment la radio, la télévision et les plateformes numériques au Canada peuvent mieux répondre aux besoins des spectateurs, auditeurs et créateurs de contenu autochtones. Joignez-vous à la conversation aujourd'hui au crtc.gc.ca/radiodiffusion-union autochtone.
Un message du gouvernement du Canada.
I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Thursday, May 23rd. We begin once more with the 3-week-old Jeremy Skibicki multiple murder trial, the non-Indigenous man who's admitted to killing 4 Indigenous women in Winnipeg. His defense claims he's not criminally responsible due to mental illness. The Crown argues his crimes were intentional and racially motivated. And on Wednesday, a Winnipeg police sergeant took the stand to testify about a pen pal of Skibicki's, a female inmate in Nova Scotia. T.R. Wheatley reports a story with some disturbing details.
The Crown called Detective Michael McDonald Wednesday. He confirmed seizing 9 letters that Jeremy Skibicki wrote to an inmate inside the Nova Institution for Women in Truro, Nova Scotia. McDonald told court that in May 2023, he and another detective flew to Truro to meet with Crystal Hunt. He revealed there were 2 or 3 letters she destroyed. By this time, Skibicki had already been in custody for more than a year. He has since admitted to killing Rebecca Contois, Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and Buffalo Woman. The letters were entered as exhibits that were shared with the media. There were no letters from Hunt shown to the court. In total, there were 39 pages between the 9 letters written by Skibicki. The mail exchange continued for 16 weeks from May 4th until April 27, 2023. The first letter from Skibicki implies that Hunt wrote to him first. His third sentence in, Skibicki writes, "Anything I say or write has the potential to be used against me by the Crown." Skibicki goes on to tell Hunt he was adopted and shares his birth name with her, also saying he has a real connection with her. He also asks for pictures in that first letter and shares he has a preference in women who are not visibly fat. In his second letter, sent a month later, he tells Hunt that he is still legally married and starts to build a bond with her, even writing about out-of-body experiences they could share. He also signed the letter, Love Anton. He also thanks her for sending him a picture that he since put on his wall. The third letter tells Hunt that he cares for her. He shares that he's upset because he found out he is now legally divorced despite not signing any papers. The same letter also has Skibicki suggesting he wants to marry Hunt. He also starts to talk about his case, writing, "I am seriously considering giving up even though I have a not criminally responsible defense with experts. I could have 100 experts while the Crown has none, and I'd still get convicted by a bunch of morons." Skibicki then starts asking things of Hunt, talking about how he can start writing fiction novels, and asks her to do some research about which prison would be the best fit for him, one that allows the most frequent conjugal visits, cell phones, and video games. The fifth letter delves into Skibicki's ideologies about attacks on white culture. Skibicki compares the public school system today to being much worse than residential schools. He points fingers at Jewish people and Muslims for causing trouble, eventually writing, "Enough of my rant. I sometimes go from zero to communism in 20 seconds. The remaining letters show Skibicki and Hunt seeming to trauma bond. By the last one sent on April 27th, 2023, Skibicki says, "But that doesn't mean we can't love each other." After the letters were entered as evidence, the Crown confirmed Skibicki had his psychiatric evaluation that they requested last week, but wouldn't say much else. There is a break in the trial until June 3rd, when defense will begin presenting their side that Skibicki is not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And for further trial coverage, visit aptnnews.ca. And should portions of this report prove triggering, supports are available 24/7 at 1-844-413-6649. Still with criminal matters and a sentencing hearing in a Yellowknife Supreme Courtroom, one that comes 4 years after the violent murder of 22-year-old Brianna Meno. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs reports.
Kind, giving, and always able to light up a room. That's how the family and friends of the late Brianna Meno are remembering her. And today they have a chance to share how the tragic loss of their loved one has forever shaped their lives. Mother of Brianna, Lisa Zoe, was the first to testify with her victim impact statement. She says she's now the prisoner and the one suffering. She directly addressed the judge when asking him to consider their family when he looks over the GLADU factors in the pre-sentence report. She says, "We support our Indigenous criminals, but what about our Indigenous victims?" In May of 2020, the 22-year-old Dene woman from Yellowknife, Toledo, and Edzo area was violently murdered. Devin Laborie pleads guilty to second-degree murder. He attacked Menico with a hatchet in his Yellowknife apartment and instructed bystanders not to leave. Following the murder, he showed up at an acquaintance and told them he had hurt Brianna, and then checked himself into Stanton Territorial Psychiatric Unit, but removed himself 12 hours later. As the family went out looking for Brianna, Laborie hid her body in a chest freezer, with plans of disposing it along with other incriminating evidence. At the time, he was let out on release with an order not to consume any substances or be in possession of any weapons. Many in the courtroom today are wearing black and red custom MMIWG t-shirts with the slogan, "Justice for Bree." With nearly a dozen victim impact statements, it's expected Laborie will be sentenced on May 23rd. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
It's been reported that imprisoned serial killer Robert Pickton was assaulted over the weekend, now clinging to life in hospital. The 74-year-old's serving a maximum prison sentence in Quebec when a fellow inmate attacked him. Recently eligible for day parole, Pickton was reportedly writing a book blaming someone else for the murders that sent him to jail. Here with reaction from some of the families impacted by Pickton, Tina House.
Corrections Canada has confirmed that this past Sunday, Robert Pickton was the victim of a major assault by another inmate at the Port Cartier Maximum Prison in Quebec. He was allegedly speared in the head with a broken broomstick and is undergoing surgery. And for Sarah DeVries and Lorelei Williams, they don't believe Robert Pickton is a victim. And here on this rainy day, they came to honor the true victims, their families.
They're not going to be forgotten, and they're going to be remembered and honored still.
Sarah's mother, also named Sarah, went missing in 1998. Lorelei Williams' cousin, Tanya Holick, went missing in 1996. Both women's DNA was found on the farm in Port Coquitlam, formerly owned by Robert Pickton and his family. Robert Pickton was never convicted of either women's deaths, so this is their way of having some closure.
Like when I think of my cousin, I just want to cry. I was crying all last night as I was thinking about my mother and thinking about her spirit.
For Bernie Williams, whose mother and sisters were murdered on the mean streets of Vancouver's downtown east side, she also agrees today is not about Pickton, but about the families. Robert Pickton was only convicted of 6 women, but charged with dozens more.
Every sick monster, he deserves to go out in a body bag. The families are never, ever gonna receive the justice that I believe that was taken from them. I think about the other women. There was 33 women, and there's no justice. So today, he's not even part of my equation today.
For Angela Marie McDougall, who knew many of the women who went missing or were murdered, she says that jailhouse justice was finally delivered to a predator that preyed on vulnerable women on these streets.
I really started to look back on the last decades of the numbers of serial killers, including this one, that have been in this neighborhood, and reflecting back on that and what it's taken for families and communities to organize, to make visible the disappearances and the deaths, and also, in a big way, holding policing and the larger system accountable for their lack of action.
And back at Trout Lake, for the families, they don't want his assault to overshadow the real story, their loved ones.
I don't want people to forget her face, her name, and what this did to our families.
Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Thursday, May 23rd. I'm Rick Harp.